This is the summer house as it stands today. Built about, I don't know, 11 years ago, 12 years ago. That window's long gone. The roof's rotted and the trees started to grow in. To create the design of the new summer house, I drew it all in 3D Studio Max. It's not an entirely accurate render, but I've used real scale dimensions to create all of the structure of the summer house. What this gives me is an idea of the quantity of the materials I needed, and I was able to, add more detail as I needed it for things like the decking planks and the flooring, the number of sheets I needed in the roofing, and how the window will fit within the front wall, etc. It's not the easiest way to do it, but it does give me a parts list and help me to create the online order I needed for all the timber. You can see here that I'm counting the number of sheets of cladding I need for the outside wall and the area I need for my insulation board. This isn't a complete list of everything I bought for this project, but as you can see, I bought majority of the items from Wix. During the lockdown they were a bit short on some of the stock, so I had to make sure I built my summer house out of what I had available. They had most of what I needed. As you can see, I've included the flooring, the roofing, most of the timber there. The rubber roofing, the EPDM, was bought as a kit from Rubber for Roofs Co. UK. You just put in your dimensions of your roof and what options you want for your edge trim, and they provide it as a kit with all the parts you need. I've created a document with various sketches of the stages for the new build. Each stage tells me what size wood I'm using, roughly how long they are, and which screws I need for them. This will help me organise the build from start to finish, hopefully. Most of the wood will be treated timber to prevent rot. The cladding on the outside is going to be hardwood, plywood, and I'll paint it on the outside with your outdoor garden kind of shed paint. The front wall, I plan to put a door and a window. The door's on order, so I know the size of that. The window is possibly being sourced second hand, so I don't yet know what size that's going to be. The roof will just be another set of timber treated with OSB sheets over, and then the EPDM kit I've already got. This is the ground, just clearing after I've demolished the old summer house. These are the slabs. They're 8x8 400mm slabs, so they give a base of 320 square. Salvageable wood that's treated is in that pile, and wood that's gone rotten or just can't be used in that pile. I've been given this second-hand window from a building where they've been having new glazing fitted. This measures 1.8 metres by 1.2 metres. The delivery from Wix for all of the wood I ordered online, it's all turned up on the correct day. It was shown as dispatched in two lots, I assumed, for the large parts, and then a van delivery for the small parts. I had a van turn up at about 9 AM that gave me most of the small parts and a list of what was included. I then had another van turn up about an hour after that with 3 planks of wood, which was a bit disconcerting because I was expecting 2 deliveries but had loads of stuff missing and I had no more tracking. The Wix website said everything was delivered, but at about 4 PM this 10-ton truck turned up with a crane, and they did a very safe, neat job of delivering a pallet with the remainder of the goods. So I can recommend Wix for quality of goods, but tracking was very confusing. That's the base layer down. So that's treated wood, 45 by 95. That's a damp-proof membrane down, and then kingspan wedged on top. There's no kingspan underneath where the decking area will be. I'm going to peel back the damp-proof membrane so it doesn't just collect water in there. I've laid 18mm chipboard tongue and groove, and that's on top of 47 by 47mm squared battens that run 400mm separating. Just needs all screwing down now. I've screwed 12mm hardboard to the back of the wall, and then used 5-minute setting wood glue between the joins because that will keep a waterproof seal. I completely failed to video the process, but I painted the back wall and then stood it upright, and then I framed a side wall and stood that upright. That was all on one day. I'm on to the second side wall today. The framework's put together. I started putting the plywood sheets down just to make the frames straight and square, but I don't know if you can tell, it started raining, so all power tools had to go away. It's very sheltered underneath the trees here, but just the corner caught it wet there. Once this plywood's shaped the same as that one, it'll be painted with the slate grey paint again, and then stood upright on this side of the decking. I also cut a lot of the trees away this morning to try and make some more room for my roofing. The rain's obviously made some of them sag a bit lower, but I'll get the saw out again tomorrow and cut some more back. I forgot to video again, but that's the third wall stood upright. The next thing I did was build a front wall, just the framework, and put some roof beams propped in place just to see how they fit. This has got room for quite a large window, so I've done a test fit of the window just to make sure it fit properly, and make sure the wall's all square. I've picked up some truss clips at Wix. They're 38mm wide, which exactly matches the roof beams I've got. They just hold the roof beam onto the wall so it doesn't slide. Doesn't need to take any weight as such because the wood is resting on wood, so I've just used screws to hold them in. I've spaced out the roof beams so that there's equal distance more or less. I've been able to use a ladder to screw the wall to the end rafter from within the inside, and then I've put these extra blocks to hold the rafter. I haven't screwed those in place, I've glued them, as they're mainly just to take a bit of extra weight and give me something to screw inner cladding to. I've just got to do the end one there, yeah. That's all of the 18mm ordered strand board in place on the ceiling. Putting the roof on has made the structure a lot more sturdy. So tomorrow I should be able to put the EPDM in place and make it waterproof. I've got the EPDM roof on now, all the trim. It took quite a long while because I had the trees in the way. I cut a few of them back and made room. I bought the roofing from Rubber for Roofs UK, and they've got lots of instructional videos on their website on how to fit it. It's fairly simple to do, it's just time consuming, and I had weather problems as well. There's a bit more cladding on it. And I've fitted some of the king span into the ceiling. I've got leftover king span, so I'll use that to fill in the gaps, because most of these strips are offcuts from doing the floor. I've also got insulation board on the way for the walls. That's 45mm or 40mm thick, which will fit into the cavity better. The window frame is now fitted. There was these metal brackets that slot into the side of the frame and then screw to the wood. So there's 3 of those each side. They were facing outwards on the original windows, but I've just turned them around within the framework. I used expanding foam around the outside to fill in any gaps, so water can't seep around. I've doubled up the thickness of the front frame just to make sure it will take the weight of the window and the roof. I've painted a lot of the cladding around the front. It's in a soft stone colour. I've also hung the door and put a gate latch on it. It needs some draft excluder just to make the close a bit softer and to help keep out draft. I've also put some extra cladding around the window to make it neater. I've completed the painting on the front and finished the cladding on the front. This is the 40mm Celotex sheets going in. They were delivered in a van today. I'm cutting these to about 50 centimetres and just over 2 metres tall. They're a nice snug fit and just the right thickness for my wall beams. The front wall is getting 2 layers of insulation because it will take the most of the daytime sun. I've already done the top panels and I've done the front panel, the front lower panel, and that's the second layer of Celotex. So the window went in last night. It's quite a snug fit. It needs adjustment slightly, just to make it easier to open. But it's fitted. I started fitting the interior cladding on the back wall and the front wall and the ceiling. I want to use this tongue and groove. I'm using cladding clips so there's no visible screws. On the side walls I've bought some 5mm plywood. That should just take 2 sheets per wall, so that'll be nice and quick. That's the back wall completely clad. I've installed a windowsill and put some plastic trim around the windows today, so looking at that tidier. And I've also installed this vertical hanging blind that will keep the room a bit cooler in summer, and then clad the front wall. So that's with the blind closed. I've also installed some soffit boards. I've just used extra cladding because I was going to have left over anyway. I've installed the decking area. They're all cut to about 60 centimetres long. I've spaced them out using 12mm plywood to get equal spacing on every plank. I've just put some cladding upright down the side of the window just to finish it off. Mounted the network access point on the ceiling with the wires a bit more concealed. There's a little bit of cladding over the door. I still need to finish off the corners because it needs to hold the hardboard flat. There's no beam behind that to screw to, so I'll just screw something into the corner that holds them all straight. Same with this one. The 5mm ply just bend a little bit, so it just needs convincing. I filled most of the screw holes with wood filler and smoothed off the crack in the middle. After doing that, I've begun painting. This has had about 2 coats, so it needs a bit more paint on it. That's with a couple of coats of paint on. It takes 3 or 4 coats sometimes to completely conceal the dark brown plywood. The other wall is nearly done. There's just a few patches where the filler is showing through still. I've now fitted all the skirting board. It's screwed in place just to make sure it's sat flush and held the bottom panels against the framework. They're primed already, so they just need the screw holes filling a little bit, and then I'll paint it with gloss white. So it's all the way around the 3 sides, and then that shorter panel on the front. I've just put filler on all the screw holes. I only had the brown filler, but hopefully the white gloss will cover all this. I've obviously cleaned out the inside. I'm going to try and roll the carpet flat tonight just to make sure it fits. Turns out gloss paint takes 16 hours to harden, so I haven't done the carpet yet. I painted the door, that's just drying off. It may need another coat of paint, but I've also put all the trim on the door, so that's plastic trim. and then painted the wood around. The carpet grippers are down in place, and I've got a tool to help me do that. The carpet's finally down, it just needs a good vacuum. I managed to get it up to the threshold quite nicely with this threshold bar. I had to use instant grab adhesive to stick this down because the wood was too dusty to use the sticky bar underneath. This is after a quick vacuuming session. The carpet pile's all a bit ruffled, but it's fit well enough for me. This is the table I've made from leftovers. So it's the 47 squared timber sandwiched between 12mm plywood. The plywood's screwed on at the bottom, but it's glued on at the top, so there's no screw holes in the surface of the desk. The legs are again made of 47 squared timber. It's put together in such a way that the total height of the leg and the thickness of the desk should come to 760mm, which is the ideal height of a desk. I've put these 45-degree braces in. They're 60mm long, so a bit of trigonometry worked out that it's 424mm on those two distances for that 600mm diagonal. The desk has had 3 coats of varnish. Time to get touch dry. It should harden over the next few hours. So this is more or less my home office complete. There's no more to do apart from get deliveries of internal furniture. So I've got an office chair coming. I've got a nice comfy armchair to sit behind. I might get a table of some sort or some cupboards. But it's a nice empty room at the moment. Daytime temperatures on a very hot day are reaching about 32 degrees at the moment, so I'll probably need a fan to pull in cold air through the open window. It is very warm outside today though, and the sun's been out all day. So I'll probably end my video by posting a summary of costs. If I had to estimate, I would say I've spent about £2,000, and that includes all of the materials, so the wood and the paint, glues, roofing, carpet, and enough left over to make a desk, the blind, the decking, the door threshold. The window is free luckily, so you can add that to your cost normally. Any questions? Just ask. Here's a rough guide to how much it's cost to build the new office. The majority of it was the wicks delivery, all of the external wood, that's all the timber and the external hardwood, all of the king span for the roof and ceiling and the floor, the chipboard tongue and groove for the flooring, and all of the ordered strand board for the roof. So the majority of it, 1,170, that included the delivery charge. The EPDM roofing kit was 295 quid, including delivery. The wall insulation I bought from Insulation Express online. So you can see that was £158 including delivery. The interior skin was a combination of all the tongue and groove cladding I've used for the back wall, the front wall and the ceiling, plus the 5mm plywood I've used on the side walls. The decking was very low supply at Wickes, so I got that at B&Q. I collected that, so £67.50. That also included some additional decking for another project, so probably about £40 worth of that was actually used on this office. The door was £80 with free delivery from eBay. There's some other smaller items. Paint, £60 worth of paint. I had easily had enough paint. I probably got half a tub of the slate grey left. And the window blinds, optional obviously, £43.95 including the £3.95 delivery. You could probably put the total at nearer £2,000 if you excluded the blinds and the spare decking. You can see I bought about £22.64 of screws. I did buy some more screws for about another £10, but as a rough guide, that's about how much I spent, about £2,000. I already had the concrete, well, the slab flooring in place. That's something you might want to add onto your costs, and of course I didn't pay for my window because that was a freebie. And that's it.